All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Today, I just wanted to take a moment to discuss with you guys setup and as civilians, kind of the way I go through and walk you guys through my mindset when I'm setting up a rifle for a particular task, or in general, my advice to new shooters or someone who has one rifle, how I'd recommend you set it up, because that's currently what I've been working on with this Geisley URGI upper receiver group improved 14.5 inch, kind of a do-it-all GPR general purpose rifle with that setup. So I want to talk through a few setups with you guys, and again, in an unedited, like long form, just conversation style with you guys. Talk about a few of the go-to like staples in most of my builds, and the mindset and the thought behind that, the thought process behind all that, why I chose those products, or kind of what purpose they serve on my builds, and why I think they're important. So with that being said, I just wanted to say, if you guys want to support the channel, right now, Brownells is the biggest supporter of the channel, so big shout out to Brownells and a big thank you goes out to Brownells. If you guys want to buy anything that you need, again, be responsible with your money, but if you guys are going to buy something anyways, use bro code RDB10. That's RangeDayBro 10, RDB10. Gets you guys 10% off at Brownells, and then also helps the channel out as well. If you guys want any merch, you can head on over to RangeDayBro.com, pick up any merch, gun charms, things like that. And then lastly, follow me on Instagram. You could DM me on there if you have any questions. It's the easiest way to get a hold of me. So with all that being said, let's just talk about overall setups and my mindset when I'm setting up a rifle. So when I first got into guns, I had one rifle, like many of you probably do out there. I didn't have a suppressor. I didn't have anything fancy. It was an Aero Precision and Palmetto State Armory build, and it was a 7.5 inch AR. It was really kind of useless as far as the ballistics go on a 5.56. It wasn't a 300 blackout or anything like that. It was a 5.56, 7.5 inch. Just absolute cannon, just blew fire flames out the front of the gun. Super loud, and kind of pointless. I know still wouldn't want to get shot by one, but for the most part, pretty pointless. But as I grew and as I learned and did more research and figured out, okay, what are the best ballistics for a 223 barrel? What barrel length is that? Things of that sort, kind of evolved into a 12.5, then a 13.7, and so on and so forth. And now, where I'm at now, I'm blessed enough, I kind of wanted a tool for every job, so to speak. Now, that is a bit of an obsession. I will warn you guys. It's like a tattoo. Once you get one, it's easier to get a second one. It's a beautiful obsession. It's more of an investment as well, but it can get out of control, as we've discussed in the past. So just be aware of that and be responsible with your setups and how you're going about acquiring your tools and your accessories for those tools, which we're going to talk about today. So with that being said, I became obsessed with getting a 10.5, 11.5, 12.5, 13.5, 13.7, 14.5. I mean, I got obsessed with having a scalpel for every single job, instead of honing in my skills, and instead of setting up having one rifle set up with good quality glass, with good light, everything I needed on that rifle. I was just obsessed with getting every rifle that I may ever need for every task. I wanted a rifle for 0 to 50, and a rifle for 50 to 200, and for 200 to 3. And so it got kind of ridiculous there. But as I got further and along in my journey, and I sit here now, obviously, with a ton of investments. I call them investments. I say I don't buy stocks, I buy guns. Behind me on the wall, I am trying to give you guys the advice that I wish someone had given me in the beginning. So let's just start at the beginning. Before I get into a few of my setups back here, I might grab some stuff off the wall and show you guys. But I want to just talk about kind of my GPR that I've been working on now for, going on like 5 months now. I don't know exactly how long it's been, but it's the Geisley URGI, effectively the Block 3 upper receiver. Now, I guess what we can do is I'll just go over the setup with you guys and kind of talk through. First of all, I'll give you guys the idea behind it, and then I'll go through the setup and just tell you guys what I have on this thing, how it is set up currently. And yeah, we'll just go from there. So the idea behind this rifle here is to have one rifle that I can pretty much do everything with. That is 0 to 600 yards, and that is going to be pretty much any scenario I run into. I can use this rifle to get me out of that scenario or protect me in that scenario. That is the idea behind this. The other idea is that I'll have one barrel length. I'm going to try to at least, when I'm doing high round count drills, I'll probably use some cheap ammo, but I'm going to try to use the same 77 grain open tip match ammunition when I'm shooting this thing, at least to distance, so I can understand my BDC, understand my holds in this Christmas tree reticle that this attacker has, and just know it like the back of my hand without having to do a bunch of mental jiu-jitsu or reference a dope card or something like that. The idea is I get so familiar with one rifle because right now I've been spreading myself so thin amongst all these different rifles. I'm a jack of all trades, a master of none. So I want to kind of master one tool, and that's kind of the idea behind the GPR that we have here, the Block 3. So that's the idea. I want to be able to use it for home defense. I want to be able to use it for CQB and for flat range, for competitions. Not so much for competitions. I'm saying like any situation I'm going to find myself in without rule of law, shit hit the fan, foreign invasion, whatever, you name it. I want to be able to go to war with this rifle and know that it's not going to fail me, and know what it's capable of and know what I'm capable of doing with it. So the idea is get one rifle that can do everything pretty well. Obviously, there's going to be some sacrifices there. It's not going to be able to reach out to 600 yards as easily as my Mark 12 clone, you know, an 18-inch barrel, you know. It's not going to be as effective as a scalpel, as a precision rifle, or it's not going to be as wieldy as a Mark 18. However, it's going to be somewhere in the middle where I'm going to get good CQB performance. It's short enough, you know, without a can at least, it's short enough to easily wield within doors. With a can, a little bit harder, but can still be done depending on the can you're using. I have a Surefire muzzle device on here, which we'll talk about in a second, but it's easy enough to wield in CQB, and it's going to be good enough to get me out to 500 or 600 yards if I ever need to reach out that far, okay? And also the 1 to 8 is good for just glassing and observing at those distances as well, and PID and whatnot. So the whole idea is get one rifle that I can really hone in my skills with and get better with and really know, like get an intimate relationship with this rifle and become proficient with it to the point where I don't have to second guess, or there's nothing strange about it to me. I want to be like, I want to know this rifle through and through with my eyes closed, be able to run it. So with that being said, that's the whole idea behind this Block 3 upper. I fell in love with it because immediately once I got this upper from Geisley, I did purchase this upper from Geisley, by the way, with my own money. There was no money exchange for this review. I already did a review on this, kind of unboxing and initial impressions review. We're going to be doing an entire review on this, hopefully this weekend. We'll see how my calendar looks. But the initial idea, I lost my thought there. Oh yeah, so I initially got this from Geisley, and the first time I shot it, I was just super impressed. I was blown away because this upper ships with their braided wire buffer spring and their buffer weight. So it's like perfectly tuned for this upper and this gas block. And so right out of the box, I was shooting this thing and it's shooting super flat. Now, you know, it's not like delete the recoil, pew pew view style, but it's incredibly flat shooting and well gassed for a duty rated upper receiver group. So once I felt it and shot it, I was like just immediately obsessed with this thing. And it's so lightweight yet so robust. I just fell in love with it. So it's really taken the cake. It's taken all my attention away from my other rifles, and I'm really diving and pouring a lot of attention into this thing. The only other rifle that I'm kind of excited to review is the Spear LT, which I'm still waiting on my tax stamp for that, Form 1. It's been forever. I did a paper file Form 1 through Capital Armory, which I don't recommend because it's just taking forever. And if I would have done an e-file, I think it would have been like 2 months or you know, something like that. It's going on like 5 months now. So I'm pretty bummed about that, but my mistake. I learned, don't do that. NFA is bullshit anyways, ATF's gay, so you guys know how I feel about all that shit. But anyways, getting back into the rifle, I was super stoked and I wanted to just make this the do-it-all, and I wanted to spend all my time with it. So let's talk about how I've kitted it out. And the mindset, again, I've already explained, is kind of a do-it-all general purpose rifle. It's a 14.5 inch pin and welded barrel. It's Geisley's Cold Hammer Forge chrome line barrel. I'm not one to just recite all the specs, guys, so I apologize if I missed something here, but they all come. This is the near clone upper receiver, so it comes with the Surefire 4-prong pin and welded up here, and I don't know what they call it, but it's not the War Comp where it has the porting behind these two rings here, so it's the quieter, better suppressed muzzle device. Again, very unscientific explanation there, but it's pin and welded from the factory, so that's good to go. It came with the Mark 16 rail here. I believe it's the Mark 16, and it has the NSN numbers on here for all you cloners who think that's important. But if you're a cloner, then you would know it comes. The clone is truly with a Daniel Defense barrel. But Geisley, again, everything Geisley does, I'm a fanboy. I can't lie. I haven't had one Geisley product that I've been disappointed in so far. So it comes with their Super Duty gas block. It's pinned. That's important. A pinned gas block is important for if you're going to be really abusing this thing and doing high round counts. Set screws are just fine for most situations, but that's what we call bomb-proof installation. And you just know that it's not, unless that pin shears off, which will take a tremendous amount of force, it's not going to move and your gas block's going to stay right where it needs to be. Looks like the standard mil spec You know, gas tube. One thing I will say about the Mark 16 rail that I do not like is that it doesn't have a steel insert for the QD slot, which is kind of a standard on a duty rated rifle. I didn't make the rules. I've never pulled out an aluminum QD, you know, socket, so I'm not like saying from experience that this needs to be steel, but it seems that's the standard. And even Geisley does that on a lot of their, you know, FBI or whatever, their like special contract rails have that steel insert. It just seems like it's a higher quality, more robust insert for your QD slot. So I feel like that's a missed opportunity for Geisley on this one to not put a steel QD insert in there, but it is locking, which is cool. A lot of companies miss out on that too. So it locks, so you cannot rotate the QD swivel. Only other thing that pisses me off and is kind of annoying is that the QD swivel itself hits the top rail. That's just a cosmetic thing. Over time, it's already wearing a little bit on the anodizing, but that's just a cosmetic thing. So a lot of complaints, it seems like, from me on the QD socket there. But it's an absolute bomb-proof lock up here. It's got ears on both sides. It's got ears right here at the bottom that has a set screw in it, and then it's got these ears up here on the top, which will prevent it from rotating. So once I do get my nods and I sell my kidney or my liver or whatever I need to sell to get my night vision, I'm going to be able to mount up some kind of IR laser aiming device and not have to worry about it shifting 0 there. So that's nice. It did come with their reliability enhanced bolt carrier group in here. So Geisley, I went over this in the initial review. If you guys want to get all the specs on this bolt carrier group, I went over it in my initial review of this upper receiver, but it's apparently a Carpenter 158 enhanced bolt steel. They worked with the Carpenter steel, like the metallurgist over at Carpenter 158, or Carpenter. I don't know what the hell the name is. I think the company's just called Carpenter. I don't really know. But they developed the steel, Carpenter did, and it's 158 plus. So it's supposed to be some like, I think it's actually a forged bolt head, so it takes a lot of the imperfections out. It sounds like a lot of extra over-engineering, which I like. I like the way HK over-engineers, and it seems like Geisley went the extra mile to over-engineer this, because you're paying a premium for this thing. I mean, the upper receiver group, I mean, it was on sale for Black Friday, but it's back up to like $13.50 on Brownells, but using my discount code, you can get it for like $1,200 or something like that. So you get what you pay for, and that is like going the extra mile with Geisley. They have a better quality control than, say, a more entry-level AR-15. We won't name names, but that's pretty cool. And then it comes with their airborne charging handle, which is my absolute favorite charging handle on the market today, to date rather. This is their airborne. It's got smaller ears here so that you don't get caught on your plate carrier and whatnot. So that's what it all comes with from the factory. YouTube manual reviewers, this is all stock from the factory. This is not a modified rifle. This is not anything that's against your terms and agreements here. So, and then the Geisley's a standard Daniel Defense lower with the, the lower is a standard Daniel Defense lower receiver off of one of my other M4s, and it has the maritime bolt catch here, which I really enjoy. I love the way it looks, just aesthetically it looks phenomenal. Radiant selector switch, Geisley trigger, super dynamic 3-gun trigger on this thing, and then K2 grip from Magpul. It's the K2 Plus. It's the rubberized one. I'm not even a huge fan of it. I just had it for my HK MR556. I put the regular K2 on it, but you know, it's growing on me. I just don't like the rubberized feeling if my hand's sweaty or if it's bloody or something like that. I think I'd like the just stippled polymer grip better, but it's growing on me, let's put it that way. All my Radians are on a 45-degree throw just because I like it. It's quicker and it's easier to engage the safety with my shooting hand here. If my safety's on and I'm shooting, it's so much easier to flip it up than a full 90, kind of have to break a grip. So I like that you can just so easily flip it back and forth, and the long end is on the left side of the gun, so my shooting hand can articulate it. That is pretty much it. B5 Satmod stock. I'm sorry, this is not a B5. This is a BCM Gunfighter stock. A huge fan of this thing. It's a very tight, like fits the gas tube really tight, and it's really hard to make adjustments on this, so you're not going to accidentally bump it out of the position you have it in. And oh my god, I'm just dragging on and on about the setup. Mil-spec gas tube, Geisley, birded buffer wire and buffer spring and weight rather in here, and that's it. Okay, finished it. Lastly, accessories that are standard on these rifles. Blue Force gear, Vickers sling, just really a fan of these. I'm the kind of guy, when I find something that works, I stick with it. All my slings are the same. I have the same exact sling. Like, I have 3 of these. I've had like 5 of them in the past. I've sold a couple of rifles to help out some friends and family. And Samson Manufacturing, vertical foregrip here. This is their grenade tan, and it is the shorty, because all I need is that right there. I'm not gonna ever grab it like this unless it's burning hot, in which case that's enough to grab. Up top, we have the Badger Condition 1 mount. This is their 1.7 inch mount with 34 millimeter tube, because it's holding the Night Force Attacker 1-8. And that kind of goes back to the purpose of the rifle. The purpose of the rifle is to get me from 0 to 600 yards effectively. So what better than a 1-8 to do so, and one of the best, I must say. I haven't actually shot it yet, but just looking through it around the house, outside, it's phenomenal. The 1X is pretty zoomed in. It's not a true 1X, but it is so crystal clear, you can kind of forget about that issue. It is daylight bright, as you guys all know. I'm sure you've seen reviews on the Attacker. This isn't a review on the Attacker. We will have one eventually, but I'm really excited. This is a dream optic of mine, so I'm really excited to have it on here. Do you need it? No. I mean, my Trijicon Credo 1-8 is a really good optic as well, and it's literally less than half the price. They're actually, I think they're down to like 800 bucks. I've seen them for. So you don't need to have a $3,000 rifle scope to be good at shooting, but we have it here on the Condition 1. Eventually, I'd like to put a top-mounted RMR. You just cannot find these Badger accessory rings. You just literally can't find them. I called Badger, and they said that they would do what they can to put me on a list, but depending on the back orders, they said they're behind because of government contracts, but do with that what you will. I still applaud them for selling to the civilian industry, but their contracts takes precedent, which is kind of frustrating, but I understand there's a lot more to the manufacturing side and the government contract side of things than I get, and I understand, so be it. Besides that, we have Magpul MBus Pro backup iron sights. Are they pointless? Well, if this was a QD lever, I'd say they'd be a lot less pointless, but these are actually bolts, nuts on here, so, but I always have my fix-it sticks with me at the range and in my kit, so if my Night Force ever went down and my gun was somehow still functional and my head was still in my body somehow, then I could take it off and use my iron sights. Up front, we're running a Surefire MD640 dual fuel, regular white light with a tail cap. My grip's right here, so I don't need a pressure pad. I can just articulate that with my thumb there, as you can see. So I didn't want to clutter it up. Once I put a IR laser aiming device on here, I'll probably get some tape switches and whatnot. But for right now, I like the clean and smooth look. So that is the entirety of the setup. I believe I covered everything. If you have any other questions about it, just let me know down in the comments or message me on IG about this particular setup. But that's the whole mindset, is a do-it-all rifle. And for anyone who's getting into guns, buying your first rifle, you want to get into something like this. You want to get an LPVO with a light, a sling, and just a base rifle. You don't need anything fancy. I mean, Ruger, Smith & Wesson, go on and on and on. I mean, Aero Precision, Palmetto State. Most of these entry-level budget rifles are going to do the same exact job as these higher-end rifles, minus the quality control that they have coming out of the factory. That's kind of the biggest thing I've seen. But if you go shoot your rifle and you put 5,000 rounds through it, that's better quality control than anyone's going to do in a factory. So if you know your rifle runs, then what do you need the name on the side of the gun to say? It doesn't need to say shit. If you know it runs good, so be it. Run it like a scalded dog, and then if you break a BCG, if you break a bolt, change it. Change it or upgrade it to a better name brand, like a Geissele or Daniel Defense or whatever. And if you shoot out your barrel, good on you, good job. Buy another barrel. So I think that's really important for new shooters to think about getting one general purpose rifle. I think 14.5, 16 inch is great too. Don't get me wrong, 16 inch is great. I just like, because I'm running suppressors. If you're not going to run a suppressor, then 16 inches is even better, especially for getting out that 600-yard range, and for ballistic performance with a 5.56 round. It's going to have a better impact and expansion and whatnot. So 16 inch is great as well. But if you plan on getting a can and building a great, or like a dream setup like I am here, 14.5 is an excellent choice, I think, because it gets you long enough to avoid the NFA BS and still short enough to be wieldy enough indoors and whatnot. And so I'm really excited about this rifle, really excited to go shoot it out, put it through its paces, and just see what kind of accuracy we can get out of it in long range. That's the most important thing for me, because I know this thing runs. I've shot going on like 600 rounds to this thing already. So I'm really excited to continue the testing with this, and just, yeah, I'm freaking pumped. But it's kind of weird how I went about doing this, because a lot of my guns you could have considered a general purpose rifles in the past, but this is the one that I've kind of, through all my experience, created, and this is what I've dreamed up. It's my absolute dream rifle, so very excited about it. Now, enough about this. Let's talk about some other setups that I have and the ideas behind them before I bore you guys to complete death. So I have several other rifles on the wall here. I guess I could just pick one. So let's pick the HK MR762 over my shoulder here. That thing has a 16.5-inch barrel chambered in .308. It's got a Geisley trigger in it. It's got a Geisley rail on it. Was the rail necessary? No, but I just love the way it looks and the way it feels. Completes the look a little bit. And besides that, it's got some rail scale. It's got some rail scales on it, and it's got an EOTech Voodoo 5-25 first focal plane with the Horus Trimmer 3 reticle. Sorry, it's hot up here today because Texas in the winter just goes from really cold to really hot, and then the AC's not catching up. So, but anyways, it's kind of my DMR. That is my designated marksman's rifle. That rifle I've shot out to 1,000 yards, and for a .308 semi-auto gun, that's pretty darn good. That's a sub MOA gun, shoots under an inch at 100 yards with Sierra Gold Medal Match King 168 grain. That is the gun I'm grabbing for a DMR roll. It is very heavy, especially front heavy because that short stroke gas piston system. But I bought the Huxworks Flow 762 specifically for that gun because it doesn't have an adjustable gas block. And as far as I know, you can't buy an adjustable gas block for it without selling your left nut. So flow through can for it. It's got a Magpul bipod on it, so it's a dedicated DMR rifle. If I'm grabbing the thing, I'm hoping that I have some distance between me whenever I'm shooting at. Now the Scar 17, on the other hand, is more kitted out for that battle rifle roll. So it's a lot lighter, even though it's the same length barrel, same caliber, .308, but it's just a lighter platform because the whole lower receiver is polymer. And it's just, I don't know how much lighter it is, but you can tell when you hold it. It's much lighter, and it's much more balanced front to back as well than the HK is. And that, again, I primarily run the Dead Air Sandman K on there because of the 30 cal little shorty can. It's really not doing anything for sound. It's more so for flash and just to tame it down a little bit, especially when you're on a range shooting next to people. But even for a real world application, I think it would be better than having no can, obviously. And that thing's kitted out with the Trijicon Credo 1-8. That's got a ton of shit on it, actually. I might as well bring that up here. So this is my battle rifle, so to speak. And the way I have it set up right here, we'll go blast end to ass end. We have the Sandman K with the Dead Air flash hider underneath. It's their stock FN 16-inch barrel, cold hammer forged chrome lined, because I'm assuming everything HK or FN makes rather is cold hammer forged chrome lined. The MR is not chrome lined, just for you guys who are wondering. This thing has the Kinetic Development Group MREX. This is their 6.5-inch M-Lock Gen 3, I believe it is. Got some rail scales on the side, HRT tactical flashlight on here because you need to see what you're being able to shoot. And then we have the Scarburator Gen 4 on here, which is an adjustable gas block for the Scar 17 and Scar 16. That is an absolute must for suppressing this thing, because if you guys have seen my Scar review, I destroyed my rear receiver plate by shooting this thing suppressed with a Sandman S. 250 rounds, absolutely destroyed and completely, stripped out my rear receiver plate screws. So I sent it back to Mototech Engineering. He's the guy who makes the Scarburator. He did helicoils on this rear receiver plate, fixed it, and then gave me his Torx screws upgrade for here, and also the rubber recoil pad for my recoil pad inside. So completely upgraded with the help of Mototech Engineering. And yeah, what else we got? Kinetic Development Group, Radiant Selector switch on here, Geisley trigger. That makes shooting this thing accurately incredibly easy because the stock trigger is pretty booty, if I'm being honest. And at one point I had the KDG stock on here, but I think that might have contributed to the backplate being jacked up, so I got rid of that. Put the UGG boot back on here. K2 grip. I did have to Dremel my lower here a little bit to get a regular AR-15 pistol grip to fit. And then the Credo 1-8 with the American Defense Manufacturing Scar, like heavy duty Scar mount. I don't know what they call this one, but it's a tank. It's a tank. So this is my battle rifle setup. I'd consider this my 0 to 800 yard gun for when I need to be running and gunning more so. Even though the HK can reach out to 1,000, I'm really more comfortable with it from 0 to like 700, 800 yards as well, because again, 5-25, I have the magnification, but at 700 yards, I get first round impact on a you know, on a new day, first round, cold bore, I can hit 750 yards. And this thing I could as well, but I'm more, I guess I'd call this my 0 to 600 yard gun that has more punch. Let's say that. So yeah, that's kind of the idea behind this guy. And let's see what else we got here. I'll do this later. We have the Mark 18, the old trusty Mark 18 here. Let's get it off the wall. And all my guns are stacked, so let's take this guy off first. This is the modernized Mark 12 here. This is a 18-inch Ballistic Advantage SPR barrel with OpSync profile. It has, I don't know why I said SPR, it's not an SPR. It's just the OpSync profile barrel. So it has the shoulder for the collar. This is the Otter Creek Labs OCM5, my absolute favorite can, and is the least versatile can. It's the only gun I can run it on, but it is absolutely incredible how quiet this thing is, how light it is. And there's the break and collar there from, I believe that's from Centurion Arms. I believe it's Centurion Arms. But really love this gun. It is my favorite gun to take new shooters shooting with, even better than my suppressed 300 Blackout Subsonic, because it is so quiet, it is so light recoiling, and it is so accurate out to 600-700 yards. It's unbelievable. You take a new shooter out, shoot this thing with them, and it just freaking slaps steel and barely touches you, barely kicks you at all. So got this thing kitted out with that barrel, Geisley Mark 8 rail. I got the ADM bipod QD on here with the Magpul bipod. I have the Ariska, I believe it is, Ariska vertical grip here, and Aero Precision upper. Always buy Blem Aero uppers, never buy full price Aero uppers. There's literally barely any Blems. Same with Geisley. Actually, all the Geisley rails that I buy are all Blems because there's literally barely, like you can't even tell where the Blems are most of the time. Silencer Co. ambidextrous lower, Law Tactical folder, and no stock on here right now because it's being borrowed for another build. But I would love to put the B5 systems like PRS, whatever they call that, the big one, on here. But I actually just bought another B5 SOP mod because it's just too good. Got a primary arms 4 to 14 first focal plane with the R Grid 2B reticle. Love primary arms reticles. This scope was like $280 and it's one of my favorites. Illumination is absolute booty, but pretty good glass for 280 bucks. I'm sure I would see the shortcomings in low light and situations like that, but so far so good. Love this thing. PRI gas buster charging handle, BCM bolt carrier group, Geisley GS2 trigger in here, radiant selector, and that's pretty much it. Reptilla CQG grip. So, and 20 round mag, because if you're laying prone, it's just way easier to shoot with a shorter mag. So let's throw this thing back up. Let's just actually just set this shit down. Get it out of my way. Here's the infamous Block 2. This thing has been a fan favorite on the channel. This is, again, kind of the same concept as the URGI, as a do-it-all rifle. It's a 14.5 pin and welded, but it has the Block 2, it has the Riz 2 rail on here, the quad rail from Daniel Defense barrel. It's a SOCOM profile barrel, so super thick barrel. This upper was from Brownells, so you guys can pick this up on Brownells right now for a pretty good price using my discount code. I don't remember exactly what it is, but DD bolt carrier group, airborne charging handle, PWS complete lower. This is their Mark II Mod 1, I believe it is. It's their fully ambidextrous lower receiver from PWS. Great little lower. It comes with the radiant selector in it, which I loved. It came with the 90, but I switched it to the 45. And a more slim looking BCM gunfighter. I don't know if this is like an OEM version where it's like slimmer than the original, but it's got PWS's like little stake-free castle nut back here. But another kind of GPR with the ACOG on here and the offset holosun. So the idea is like have a fixed prism sight for great light transmission, extreme durability, but if I need to go up close and personal, I can pivot over to the offset and be very comfortable, still remain having my cheek weld that I like to have, or my chin weld, because this is a little bit taller of an offset, if you guys can tell. That's a Unity offset there. So really great setup as well. More of a GPR, but a little bit heavier, not as well tuned and gassed, but again, it didn't come with its own buffer spring and weight. I'm really struggling in here, guys. These guns, I just did shoulders today, so I'm like dying today. Let's see what else we got here. I guess lastly that I really want to talk about is the Mark 18, because this is the one rifle, this is my one SBR, and this is the, or for now, actually, yeah, it's my one SBR for now. But this is the one rifle I have the most rounds on, and it has not let me down. There's a little bit of slop between the upper and lower, but I probably have 10,000 rounds on this rifle so far. And it has kind of taken a back seat now. It's like kind of old news to me a little bit, but it's still tried and true. I'll never get rid of it. Riz 2 rail. I'm running the Sandman S on here. I got a carry handle on it for now because my optics are allocated to other builds. Radian selector. Again, there's a theme here. Radian selectors. I have blue force gear slings on all my stuff. Riz 2. So Daniel Defense or guys that are kind of my big go-tos for like just bomb-proof rifles, I guess, for now. And it's nothing against anybody else. It's just what I kind of started with, what I got comfortable with, and then what I just continued purchasing. Geisley trigger, Geisley airborne charging handle. This is actually Sons of Liberty Gunworks BCG in here because the Daniel Defense from the Mark 18 is in the Block 2 build right now. So there's that. But you see a theme. Daniel Defense rails or Geisley rails are kind of my go-to rails. B5 SOP mod stock. Again, K2 grip. Once I find something that I love, I kind of just tend to stick with it. But this is my nightstand gun. This was my do-it-all gun for quite some time. I've shot out to 500 yards with this rifle perfectly well. It's not easy, I would say. It's not easy, but with an EOTech and a magnifier, it's definitely possible. So another build here that I bought this one complete as a pistol, then SBR'd it. So another, purposeful rifle here. But the point I'm trying to say is when I first started, I didn't have all these optics, didn't have all these lights. If you noticed, only a few of these rifles have lights on them because lights are expensive. Lights are like $300 a weapon light. So you got to keep that in mind. What I'm trying to say is if you only have a fixed budget, get one kitted out for a GPR purpose, a 16-inch, a 14.5, or a 13.7 even. I think 14.5 is a good middle ground. And then go from there. Get a good light, sling, backup irons, vertical grip, everything you want on there, good trigger in there. And then go from there and kind of build your setups out for what you need, for what the mission requires. As a civilian, the mission is just to survive in any situation that may confront you. So it's kind of a trick question, like what's the mission? The setup has to match the mission. The kit has to match the mission. We don't know what the mission is. So we have to kind of set up for a broad version of things that may actually go down. But I'm running out of battery space, guys. RDB10 on Brownells, RangeDayBro.com or Instagram. Thank you guys so much. And my camera is about to shut off. So see you guys later.